Hey friends, Ellen here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my morning routine in Notion. We've talked a lot about my day in the life, and because I did a podcast all about things you should stop doing in the morning, which I'll go ahead and link below if you are interested, I wanted to talk about some of the things that I do once I get out of my morning routine, once I get kind of off the couch, off of those kind of non-digital parts of my morning routine, because a Notion does play an important part in my morning. So let's go ahead and take a look at what those things are that I'm doing in my morning routine as a part of Notion. Now, before we get into the Notion part of things, I want to quickly touch on the things that I do before this part of my routine. I've spent a lot of time kind of engineering my routine in a way that this part is the thing that happens last. This is the thing that I do after I do everything else. And this is really, really important for me because once I sit down at my computer, it's really difficult for me to pull myself away. So before this part of my routine happens, I wake up around 6 and I usually start off my day by reading on the couch for a period of time. I used to start by meditating, but I find that starting by reading works better for me because otherwise I tend to fall asleep while I meditate. So I start off by reading for a period of time. Then I meditate. Then I will usually stretch for a period of time. So I'll go change into my workout clothes and I put on a YouTube video and I stretch. Definitely check out my day in the life video because that kind of goes through this part of my routine pretty well. And then I will often work out in the morning or go for a walk. And then once all of that is done, that's usually when I jump onto Notion and start doing the Notion parts of my morning routine. Alrighty, so we are inside of my Notion right now. This is my main dashboard. This is where everything kind of populates and pops into. But what we're going to actually go ahead and do, and let me go ahead and put my video over here. What we're going to actually go ahead and do is we're going to look at these two tabs over here. I have a check-in, start your day, check out, end your day. This is a modified version of what I've seen another YouTuber do. She has a check-in, check-out list that she uses. I've modified that idea and that concept to have a check-in and then a check-out dashboard that I use. So, and then you can see I also have those linked from here, but I usually just use my favorites over here. So this is, as I'm recording this video, it is Friday afternoon, but I'm still going to kind of show you what I do. So I have various different, I'm going to go ahead and collapse down this tab over to the side. I have various different things that I check into in the morning. But probably the first thing I do is I check into this checklist. I have kind of been working on the flow of this. I gradually will drag around different aspects of this. But what is showing up over here in this quick capture, this is a place for me to jot down any to-dos that I've thought of. I'm a big fan of as soon as you think of it, write it down. So I'll jot down any new to-dos that I've thought of. What this will also do is it will show any new to-dos that have been created. So if I created a to-do and I need to assign a due date to it, I can do that really easily from this menu. But as I was saying, one of the first things that I do is I go into this check-in list. And these are the things that I do every morning to kind of get myself set up for my day. I check into my daily to-do list, and actually, I usually do these in the reverse order. So I'm going to go ahead and flip them right now. I usually fill up my water bottle and put it next to my desk so that I actually have water to drink. Go ahead and take a sip of that over the course of the day. It's really important to me that things are easy, that things are accessible. If something is not nearby to me over the course of my day, it's like out of sight, out of mind. So that includes water. I might be thirsty, but just drink coffee because my coffee is usually next to me. But if I don't fill up a water bottle, it's not going to be next to me. So I kind of put this in a daily setup list. I have get my Classy Network blue blockers. These are my favorite blue blockers. So I always try to make sure that they are next to me at my desk. I clear off my desk of any extra mugs and kind of extra stuff. This tends to be where mugs accumulate for me. So this is just kind of like a little daily tidy thing that I do. And then I will eventually check into my daily task list, but I usually try not to do that first. But this is kind of some of the first few things that I will do. And okay, so first and foremost, what I do usually when I sit down is I go in here to my routines and my habits, and I create a new guy for my habit tracker. So I'll usually just do at today. I've kind of already done this for today, and then whatever the day is, it will automatically create the date. And then this is one of the kind of little manual aspects of the habit tracker that I have. I really, really like my habit tracker. But one of the things you have to do each time is you have to go in and you have to say which things you want to associate it with. So I'll go say February, and then I will say that this is associated with Friday habits. Because again, as I'm recording this, it's a Friday. I've actually already done that for today, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So one of the first things that I do though is that I will go in and I will check off the habits that I have already engaged in. So I've already read, and actually as I'm recording this, I'll go ahead and check off some of the other ones that I've done. I've walked, I've worked out, and I usually will have by the time I do this Notion check-in. I haven't drank 100 ounces of water yet, so I'm not going to check that off. And actually I'm going to go ahead and expand this. I usually will kind of ask myself, depending on the day, depending on the situation, am I going to be ordering takeout today? I'll usually decide that in the morning. And then Fridays, I do usually allow myself to have a glass of wine at the end of the day. So we'll leave this one unchecked. And then actually I did stretch already today. So all of these things will have been things that have been already done. And then these are things that I'll have either be waiting on, or I'll kind of decide whether or not this is going to happen that day. So at this point, that's usually what prompts me to go in and journal. So I will check this to just kind of ensure that I actually do go journal. And then I pop over here and you can see these are all my journal entries for the week. So I'll usually pop over here, and then similarly, I'll do at today. Let's collapse down all of these extra properties. And then I have two main journal templates that I will usually use. They're these guys at the top. And the bottom one is when I may be shorter on time. I don't have as much time to go in and do all of this stuff. But then the other one is my daily reflection. And this is the one I typically do. Now, the first thing I like to do is I like to set an intention for the day. And so let's say my intention for the day is to really prioritize and enjoy my relationships. Maybe that is my intention for today. I also have a toggle down here that says if you're stuck. We're going to look at this in just a second, but you can see, if you're familiar with Notion, you know that when you have a red outline around a block like this, that means it is a synced block. And this is actually a synced block back to my dashboard. So whatever intention I write in there, it will sync it to my dashboard. I have this synced over all of these templates. So if I change it in one, I'll change it in all of them. So technically, this also changed my intention for Monday. I think that was when I did my last intention. It will also change my intention for that. I could unsync it from Monday, but I honestly don't really care about tracking my intentions over time. But I just really like that whatever my intention for the day is, it is automatically synced to that main dashboard so that I can see it. If I am stuck, if I can't think of an intention for that day, what I've got down here is I have a little table that has my 5 core values in it. And what this can kind of serve as, and I'm kind of slowly filling this in with kind of trigger questions that can help me. But what this is kind of meant to do is if I'm stuck coming up with an intention for the day, I can expand this and kind of tie my intention to one of my core values and kind of use the questions over here to help me kind of think of an intention for that particular day. So like maybe, and this is actually something I'll probably add into my template as well, what's something I could do or am doing today that could instill my value of freedom or embody that value, something like that. My belonging value is one that is very much about my relationships. So what's something I could do today or a person I can connect with today that will make me feel a sense of belonging? These are actually good. I'm going to copy this into my template. But this is kind of what this if you're stuck toggle is meant to be here. So then after I do that, I go ahead and I jot down a few gratitudes. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly. So I've got my 3 gratitudes, and then what I go ahead and do is I jot down something that I'm looking forward to on that particular day. I like to do this because I feel like it's kind of a silver lining thing. It's not like a toxic positivity thing. It's just, what is the silver lining of today? Maybe you have a really, really shitty day at work, but the thing that you're looking forward to is the end of your workday where you can sit down and watch your favorite like TV show, whatever. That can be the thing that you look forward to on that particular day. Even if it's shitty, there's always something we can look forward to. And I don't try to come at that from a toxic positivity perspective. I try to come at it from the perspective of let's find something, let's actively look for something each day that we can look forward to. So let's say the thing that I'm looking forward to today is actually, if I were to do this morning, I probably would have said a sunshiny walk down at the water, which is something that I did today, and it was lovely. Also, another really random thing, a nice hot shower. Just another really little thing. Another question that I like to ask myself is something under my control that would make today particularly great. I think sometimes we say, oh, a thing that would make today really great is no traffic on the way to work. But, that's not necessarily something that's in our control. So I do think it's really important for us to kind of come at this from the perspective of something that is actually under our control that would make particularly great. And I think something that would make today particularly great is spending some time this evening painting. For those of you that don't know, I am very much an amateur painter. I got into watercolor during quarantine, and I just found it was like a lovely new skill. It was very relaxing. Since then, I've gone into other types of painting like gouache. I've been really enjoying using that recently. And I find it's just a nice way to spend my evening to create something, kind of fills that creative cup for me. And yeah, if that's something you're interested in seeing more of from me, let me know in the comments. And who knows, maybe I will share a painting with you at one point on this channel. So that is how I kind of start off my day. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and do some morning pages. Morning page is how I usually approach journaling. So I do my journaling inside of Notion. I usually do like stream of consciousness journaling and kind of just what's on my mind, what's something I'm thinking about. I'll usually use this space to like mull things over if it's like a business thing that I am kind of brainstorming, or in this particular instance, the thing I actually really want to journal on right now is I really want to journal on, the fact that I'm considering moving apartments and kind of where that motivation is coming from and what I'm liking about that and what I'm a little nervous for about that, and just kind of exploring that a little bit. So that is usually how I journal. Before I do that though, I want to show you, I've created a couple buttons here that have various prompts. So if maybe I can't think of anything, I'll click this prompts ideas to get started. And it's got various different prompts here that I can use to kind of get me going if I'm not sure what I want to write about that day. I'm going to go ahead and delete these because I do know what I want to write about. And then I have another prompt here where I use it to discover, it's called Discover Your Secret Rules, which is basically the things that you kind of subconsciously tell yourself. And so there's various different prompts here, and this is very much inspired by the book Finish by Jon Acuff. So those are some various things I have to kind of get me started, help if I'm a little stuck. I'm not gonna lie, I don't use them very often because this is usually what I do. I just stream of consciousness journal. So let's go for it. Alrighty, there we go. That is the journal entry for the day. And then I have a final question here that just encourages me to take a second to reflect on my journal entry. This is actually something that is done a lot in Stoicism, Stoic journaling, which you'll see a lot of videos on that on YouTube as well. But yeah, that's a little bit of kind of my morning when it comes to the journaling side of things. I do here at the end of this have an evening reflection. This is kind of something I try to wishfully push myself toward doing. I'm not great at it yet, but it is something that I'm trying to nudge myself more toward doing. So that's the journaling part of things. So then the next thing I go ahead and do is I check in on my trackers. So this tracker that is showing up over here is actually the same one that I created to check in on my habits. So I use this habit tracker over here to do 3 different things: to track my habits, which is this part on top here, to track my health stats. What these are is these are all various different forms of rest that it's really great for us to get in over the course of the day. And then at the bottom here, I track my sleep stats. So that's actually what all of these trackers are over here. I just drug this one up to the top because honestly, this is the one that I usually check in on first. So what this is, you can see there's a couple different things that are in here. This number right here is the amount of hours that I spend in bed or that I sleep. And I have an Apple Watch that tracks this for me. So I just go in and I plug in the hours that I slept that week. This is something that gets pulled into my weekly review, which is why I do it. This one right here is the hours that I was actually in bed. So the first thing I will typically do in the morning after I journal, after I do all of that, is I check in on kind of my sleep stats. And I know just basically because I'm so used to checking in on these things that this one is the sleep one. This one is the various different types of rest. And then this one is checking in on my stress levels. I just know that by looking at them. So what I do is I plug in these numbers and then I check in with, did I get time outside yesterday? That's what sun question mark means when I see it. And I didn't necessarily get outside yesterday because I was recovering from being sick. The next thing is, did I not drink coffee past 2 p.m.? And that is true. Did I go to bed by 10 p.m.? That is also true. Did I have my magnesium supplement before I went to bed? I actually forgot to last night, so I did not. So I check in on all of these things. And again, these all get pulled into my weekly review. If you want to see an updated weekly review with all of these things, I know I've already shared my weekly review. Actually, my updated one is my most viewed video on YouTube. But if you want to see kind of how I build these health habits, kind of some of the changes I made, I've simplified it a lot, even since I did that updated weekly review a bit ago. I can definitely do that. Again, just drop a comment down below. So I check in on my sleep. I check in on, this is something that I kind of check into throughout the day, but I kind of check in on the intentions for the day, the intended things, the forms of rest that I should be getting. Usually by this time in the morning, I've already done the first two. This is spiritual rest, and I usually get that in by meditating, so I check that. This is emotional rest, which I usually get in by journaling, so I check that. And then creative rest and sensory rest, that's what this one is. And this one, I get in 2 different ways. I usually get it in by either going for a walk outside without headphones, which I did this morning, or I get it in by spending some time painting or playing the piano. So that's why I have both a tree, a painting, and a piano next to this. Is these are the ways in which I get those things in. So I kind of use emojis to kind of remind myself what this one means. And then sensory rest is just spending some time in quiet. I got that in both this morning and by going for a walk without headphones. The next one is physical rest, which I did not get today. I went for a walk. So physical rest, I check that one when I take a rest day from exercising and working out. Mental rest is anything you do to give your brain a break, which I usually try to do in the morning and in the evening. Social rest is this one. And then this is social self-care. So if I don't have any social plans that day, I will usually check this one. And if I do have social plans that day, I will usually check this one just to kind of make sure that my balance of time spent socializing versus time spent, by myself is where I want it to be. And then the last thing I check into down here, I usually actually do this for the day before. And that's kind of how this filter is set. But what I will usually do is I will check in on the stress monitor app that I have on my watch, and I will check in to what my stress levels were like for that the day before and whether or not it was one of the stress indicators. So my stress monitor app, which I talk a little bit more in my Apple Watch video, which I'll go ahead and link in the description below. Damn, there's going to be a lot of those today. But my stress monitor app that I use tells you that your HRV or your stress, the thing they use to monitor stress, is either great, normal, that you need to pay attention, or you're overloaded. And then I will go in and I will check whether it is pay attention or overload. That's usually when I will check stressed. So I fill in all of these trackers. And then what I do from there, that point is when I usually check my email and check into my daily to-do list. So I've already checked my email for the day, so we'll go ahead and check that one off. And then when it comes to checking into my daily to-do list, usually there will be some things in here that maybe don't have a priority listed next to them. So let's actually go ahead and do that for a couple of these things. So we've got like a few things down here, or maybe they have a priority that's really, really low. What I will usually do when I kick off my day is I will go in and I will kind of assign priorities, maybe reprioritize some of the tasks over here to the right here. So anything that is something that is on my schedule will show up as scheduled. These things are the third thing that shows up on my priority organization. Things that are designated immediate show up at the top, quick show up second, and then everything else from there. So I will go through and I will reassign priorities to these things. So I've just gone through and done that. I designated my writing the blog post as a 5, so high priority, but not the most immediate priorities for me. To work on the next part of my certification as a 4. And then I usually will always start my day with my quick wins. So the things that aren't going to take very long for me to do, I assign as quick. It's kind of funny because the immediate stuff is not the stuff that I do first, but these are the tasks that I try to visually say, these are my most important tasks for the day. I personally just don't do those first. I like to get some dopamine hits, some quick wins under my belt because it gets me really motivated to then tackle these bigger items for the remainder of the day. So I go through, I prioritize, and then from here, I will start tackling some of the quick tasks for the day. So with that, that is actually the end of my Notion tour. I hope it gave you some ideas, some things that you can try for yourself. If you've got any questions, again, don't hesitate to drop them down below. But with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, friend.